there, welcome back to Pin Cut Sew. I'm Nikki. I have a very exciting sew along to bring you along on today. This is the newest pattern in my pattern shop, and it is for grandparent dolls. Let's see, here's another grandma. I'm very proud of this one. I have a growing collection now of doll patterns in my shop, starting with the Phoebe rag dolls, with the babies and the animals, with all the interchangeable clothes. And then I moved on to the ballerina doll pattern with the changeable clothes. And then I made the little nativity playset, which is one of my very favorites. And now I wanted to do something in honor of all the great grandparents out there, especially, let me show you the whole doll, especially the long distance grandparents, like my own parents and in-laws, who have always made such a huge effort to be part of their grandkids' lives, even though we have never lived close to them. And I just thought it would be the sweetest thing if grandmas could sew little dolls that looked like them and grandpa to send to their grandchildren. Or wouldn't these make the cutest gifts for grandparents on Grandparents' Day? Or any day. So today I'm going to make this, the partner for this grandma. I'm going to make her grandpa doll to go with her. I'm going to bring you along for every step. So if you want to sew along, you can go grab the pattern from my shop. It'll be in the very first part of the little description below. It's a PDF pattern, so you can download it instantly. It comes with all the pattern pieces that you need, step-by-step instructions with photos. And I tried to make all my patterns very beginner friendly. So the pattern along with this video, and you'll be sewing rag dolls in no time. They're so much fun. Dolls are some of my favorite things to sew. So let's get started. Okay, for this project, you're going to need a few things besides hopping over to my shop and buying the pattern, which I will put very first thing in the description below. You're going to need some scraps of fabrics. I've already cut mine out, but you need a good skin tone. I just published an article about finding good skin tone fabrics for rag dolls on my blog, so I'll link you to that too. It's definitely harder to find light skin tones, but I have landed on some resources. This one I used on this one is called Flesh from Hobby Lobby. It's brand new, and it's the perfect Caucasian skin tone color. Try to find something with more pink or peach in it than yellow. Those tend to work better. And then I have a few different colors of browns. I'm going to use this medium brown for Grandpa today. So also you'll just need scraps of other fabrics. It really doesn't take very much fabric at all. Then you'll need embroidery floss. If you're making grandma, you need beads. Grandpa's just has an embroidered tie, see? And you'll need some stuffing. And I think that's everything. This is actually really easy. It's very fun to customize. The pattern comes with several hairstyles and face templates, and you can mix and match like the glasses and the smiles and things like that for sure. So just hop over and grab that. And oh, also you'll need some lightweight interfacing. I use this lightweight knit interfacing. I like it the best. Okay, let's get started. First step, let me put these guys aside. The first step is to create the doll front and back. So first you're going to stitch the shirt to the head, and then after that we're going to stitch the pants to the shirt with 1/4 inch seams. Okay, I have sewn my shirt and pants to my head, and then I pressed my seams open. Next, oh, I forgot to say you're going to need some felt for the hair. Sorry. Okay, next I'm going to cut out my interfacing. You may wonder why I didn't cut each piece out of interfacing. There are two reasons. One, because this is easier. Two, because it will eliminate bulk in my seams, so I won't have interfacing in my seams themselves, these ones. Using your finished piece as a pattern will make sure that your interfacing fits your doll. So you're just going to cut out. I'm cutting 2 at a time. So there's also 2 reasons why we use interfacing for dolls. One is because if you're embroidering the face on a light color fabric, your knots and things won't show through the other side. And it just creates more sturdiness in your seam. So when it gets stuffed firmly, then you won't have any pop seams or anything like that. Okay, so now I'm going to go press the sticky side of each piece of interfacing onto the back of each doll piece with my iron. Okay, so now I have my interfaced front and back. The next step is to stitch on the hair. So I'm going to put matching thread in my sewing machine, and I'm going to stitch around my hair. Around these edges, I'm just going to stitch inside the seam allowance to hold it in place. And then around the edges that will show, I'm going to edge stitch. I loved creating the different hairstyles. I made so many that I had to kind of narrow it down when I developed the pattern. Okay, let me go stitch these on. Okay, my hair is attached. If you need to go ahead and trim it up to match your headpiece, you can. Things sometimes get thrown wonky. So the next part is definitely the most time-consuming part, but I do think it's worth it, and that is to embroider the face. I actually already have a full doll face embroidery tutorial video that I will put up there in the corner for you to watch. So I'm not going to demonstrate like every step today, but if you need a beginner-friendly tutorial on embroidery, then go watch that video, and I'm just going to make myself comfortable and do this. First, I will show you how I transfer the face. Let me choose which face I want to make first. So what I like to do is hold this up to a window, and then I'll be able to see the black lines through it. And I just like to transfer it right on there with a pencil. Let me show you what I mean. Okay, I have my finished embroidered doll front. Super cute. Shirt and tie, glasses, the side eye. I'm loving it. Okay, so the next thing we need to do is make the limbs. I have already cut out arms and legs. And I'm gonna go chain piece these, super easy, to their respective pieces. So when you sew your arms, you need to make sure you're making two mirror images of each other. So if you have a fabric that's only printed on one side, this is fine and easy. But if you have a fabric that's printed on both sides, like I did with this grandpa shirt, you want to make sure you're making mirror images and that your arms will go together correctly at the end. So I'm just going to go stitch a hand to the end of each arm. And then similarly, I'm going to stitch a shoe to the end of each pant leg. The shoes also, the toes turn in towards each other, so you want to make sure you're mirror imaging those as well. All right, I'm going to go sew these in a 1/4 inch seam. Okay, I've sewn all my arms and legs. Now the next step is to sew them to each other. So leaving the top edge open, I'm going to stitch around my arms and legs in a 1/4 inch seam. We don't interface the limbs because they don't really need it. They don't get as much stress when stuffed as the body does. Also, that would make it really hard to turn them right side out because they're so small. So I'm going to go stitch these both arms and both legs with a 1/4 inch seam, leaving the top edge open. Okay, I have finished my arms and legs. Now I'm just going to trim them. You may have noticed that I pressed these seams open, and that is because I'm going to have to turn these little things right side out, and that just makes it a little bit less bulky there, and it will make it easier to get over that hump when I'm turning it. Okay, so I'm going to turn these right side out. I'm going to show you how to do it if you don't have my fancy turning tool, and that is with the eraser end of a pencil. So sort of separate the sides, put your eraser on there, and slide it over. Obviously this method takes a minute, but this is the best way to turn these little arms and legs. Got to kind of work it over the seam, hump. Obviously you want to use the eraser side because it won't poke through. If you used a pointy side of something, it would poke. It would poke right through your seam. We don't want that. Okay, use my chopstick to get it all nice. And there's one of my feet. Okay, however, I have this fancy, not fancy,
this super awesome turning tool called a fast turn. I've talked about this in a video before. I have received tons of comments on that video about people who went and bought one and people who already had one and said it's the best sewing money they've ever spent because it just saves a lot of time and effort. So I'll put that video up there so you can go watch it, and I will link to this fast turn in the description. It comes with several sizes of tubes and it just saves a lot of time. It's time to stuff. I like to use hemostats for this because they can grab onto the stuffing. If you just try to poke it in there with something sharp, like the wooden thing that comes in the bag of stuffing, then the poker just kind of goes right through the stuffing without moving the stuffing with it. So hemostats are perfect for this purpose. We're going to stuff the arms and legs pretty firmly up until about 1/2 inch from the top. Okay, last little bit. All right, now we're going to stitch the arms about 1/2 inch down from the neck edge. We're going to stitch them in place so they don't go anywhere. We are going to set the legs aside because they get sewn in last. There's a lot of different ways that rag dolls can be assembled. Some of them you attach all the limbs first, but in this case, his little body is too small for that, and it would be really difficult to sew him together if the legs were in there with the arms. So I'm just going to go stitch in place these so they stay there. Okie dokie, we only have a few steps left. We're going to go ahead and sew our front and back doll together. So we're going to match the neck seams carefully. I like to sew from this side so I can see the stitches that I just put in the arms. I'm going to match the waist seam. We're going to get our arms nestled inside, but keep them away from where the seams are going to be. So if you have trouble with this with your sewing machine, you can try moving your needle over more to the left, or you can put on a zipper foot. That helps if the presser foot is in the way and it's a problem. I don't always use a lot of pins, but this is one of those times when I kind of do. Okay, so we're going to sew all the way around it. We're going to leave this bottom edge open. That will be our opening for stuffing and putting the legs in. Okay, I'm going to go stitch this in a 1/4 inch seam. When I get to the neck edge, I'm going to go stop inside of this seam line where the neck meets the shirt, and I'm going to pivot. So with your needle down, pivot, and then go this way. So you'll have nice sharp corners at your neck. Okie dokie. I'm going to trim my seam, especially around the felt part of the hair to reduce some bulkiness. I'm about 1/2 of it off. And then I'm also going to snip 2 of my stitches at the neckline, the neck corner, so that it turns out nice and neat. And then I can turn my doll right side out. Get the arms out of there first, then get the head out. Because the head is so much bigger than the body, just be patient, work it out slowly. I don't like to grab it with my hemostats or anything. I don't want to risk putting holes in it, but a pencil eraser would be fine too. Would help if you need it. Okay, I'm gonna put my chopstick in, smooth out my hair. All right, this turning process always tends to leave some wrinkles in the face. So I'm just gonna go use my mini iron. I'm gonna mist it with water and use my mini iron. I don't wanna iron the felt because it's polyester, it could melt. And I'm just gonna use my mini iron and try to iron out the wrinkles on the face. Okay, final steps. We need to stuff him. So we're going to stuff his head pretty firmly. We also want to make sure that his face is symmetrical. It can be easy to get to this step and think that you sewed it wonky when really it's just how you're distributing the stuffing that makes his face look asymmetrical. So if one cheek is smaller than the other, just put some more stuffing in there until they look the same. He's looking awfully handsome. Stuffed pretty firmly. Let me put some more at the bottom of his head, and then I'll continue stuffing the rest of his body. You can see I spend kind of a lot of time getting his face nice and full. Okay, perfect. Now I can stuff the rest of him. The rest of the body doesn't need stuffed as firmly as the head, especially down towards the bottom, because you're going to be sewing the legs into that seam when you sew him closed. Okay, a little bit more. Okay, to finish, I'm going to finger press my seam allowance under along this bottom edge. So you want to have a nice crease here if you can get it. Oh, here's my little seam roller. This can help. Then we're going to insert our legs into the bottom of the body. Oh, here they are. So many legs over there, I didn't see them. Okay, we want the toes turned toward each other. Just going to insert this here, about 1/2 inch inside the body. Put a pin in it. I'm going to insert the other one right next to it. Okay, spend some time making sure they're positioned where you want them. I'm going to move this one over a little bit. If you have trouble with this step by machine, then you can, of course, do this part by hand. But again, a zipper foot might help you, because a zipper foot will let you get past this without the stuffing sort of getting in the way of your presser foot. So if that's a problem you're having, then try that solution. Okay, so I'm going to take you over to the machine and show you. I'm going to put some matching thread in so it blends in and sew this bottom closed. My grandpa doll is done. Here's his matching grandma. Here's their friends. See how nice that looks at the bottom? I moved my needle over to the left. Most machines do have a button that moves your needle over.
I sure hope you have enjoyed this. As I was developing this, I kept getting more and more ideas, and the next thing I'm going to do with this same pattern is I'm going to use my husband's military uniform that he just put in the giveaway bin. My husband's in the Army. He's been in the Army for 23 years. 22 years? We've been married for 21. We met when we were teenagers. And he went into the military, and we've been living the Army life ever since. And so I think it's really sweet when people, when children's parents get deployed, and there's companies that will make you, I think they call it a daddy doll or a mommy doll, and the child has something to cuddle with that sort of looks like their deployed parent. And so I think it'd be really cute to make this to look like my husband with his Army shirt, his dog tags, and his Army pants. And so that's what I'm going to do next, and I will show you the result when I'm done. I think I'll also put a little tutorial, sort of an add-on, on my blog, and I'll link you to that for sure, so that when you have this pattern, you can also make the military doll too. I'll see you all soon. Bye.